What's up, Pisstown fam? This is District Sentinel Radio, the newscast of record for the left. I'm Sam Sachs.
I'm Sam Knight.
We're broadcasting out of the Sentinel Fort in Washington, D.C. Check out the website, districtsentinel.com.
We got a little crossover there at the start.
Did we?
Pisstown fam?
Yeah.
You crossed the Sam fam, and the Pisstown pals.
All combinations.
What a wild way to start the show.
We got all combinations here. Happy 420. This is your news show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, those of you who are watching. We got the World Series tonight.
That's right.
The big game.
Game 1 in Boston, which means
it's time for a baseball team to cross the picket line. The latest being the Dodgers. So far, this is at the Boston Ritz-Carlton hotels where service employees are striking for better job security and wages. And first we had the New York Yankees cross the picket line. Then we had Common, the rapper, cross the picket line there. And now we've had the Dodgers cross the... How have these people not figured this out yet?
The Houston Astros figured it out.
That's
apparently.
Right. They changed hotels.
This was...
Didn't do them much good.
This is the Marriott, is it not? These
Marriott?
Are Marriott hotels are being impacted by the Unite Here strike.
Yeah.
And actually, a few days ago, someone who works for Marriott forwarded me an email that the executives were sending out where they were looking for scabs and they were asking for volunteers. And they use that term, volunteers.
Jeez.
They wanted 3,000 volunteers to help break this strike.
Ugh.
And it's pretty disgusting. So I guess Inter Nate was, of course, laughing about this morning.
Nate loves it. He thinks it makes the Red Sox look woke.
Yeah.
Even this even won't cause me to root for the Red Sox. Let me just I'm not rooting for the Red Sox. I can't root for the Red Sox. I'm not going to root for the Dodgers either, frankly. I'll just fucking watch the games.
Not that I ever want
games.
anyone to cross a picket line, but if it would bring Inter Nate down a peg and bring Red Sox fans down a peg, if the Red Sox team crosses the picket line in LA, I just think that would be funny, is all.
Yeah. I wouldn't put it past the Red Sox. I mean, whoever's in charge of scheduling and booking rooms for these teams and celebrities needs to do a better job. All right. We got some haikus to get to in a little bit. But first, it's Tuesday, October 23rd, 2018. Here's the news.
The Trump administration appears to be preparing to run against Bernie Sanders in 2020. That would explain why today the White House released a poorly written report on socialism.
It's really bad.
The study came from the Council of Economic Advisors. Per its executive summary, socialism is bad because, quote, living standards in the Nordic countries are at least 15% lower than in the United States. This is patently false. Every Nordic country ranks higher than the U.S. on the Human Development Index.
I mean, where do they just pull the 15% number out of?
I think it's maybe a number somehow related to GDP, which is a bullshit measure.
Like, take GDP, divide it by like the population, multiply it by the number of billionaires that live in the country, times the number of SUVs.
People in Nordic countries, though, they've definitely lived longer.
Yes.
They get more education, which is what the HDI
There's lower social
reflects.
ills among most of the Nordic countries compared to the U.S. in terms of like drug abuse and violence and stuff like that.
HDI, of course, also accounts for income, but it doesn't put income in terms of GDP first and foremost. GDP, by the way, if you spend a bunch of money on on recovering from a toxic waste disaster.
Yes, GDP.
GDP says that's good, according to GDP. Also, never fear people who very much dislike social democrats, because socialism is bad for other reasons, not just the Nordic countries, according to the Trump administration. And you better believe they mentioned Venezuela. Socialism is bad because, quote, replacing U.S. policies with highly socialist policies such as Venezuela's would reduce real GDP at least 40% in the long run, or about $24,000 per year for the average person. Does this study control for CIA interference? You won't be surprised, by the way, to hear this report does not say what authoritarian right-wing rule has done for places in Latin America like Honduras. I guess it's not the Council of Economic Advisors, but the White House Office of Racial Hatred that's currently dealing with that issue. You see that in the discourse over the migrant caravan, people fleeing Honduras, which is a failing state. No one ever wants to mention that when people are tearing their shirt over Venezuela.
True.
The reason why socialism supposedly fails, according to the CEA, quote, this literature finds a strong association between greater economic freedom and better economic performance. This literature evidently skipped the Great Depression chapter of Macro 101. Apparently skipped the literature hasn't been updated since 2008 either.
No. I did see that the report cited Ryan Cooper, who's been on the show a few times, some of his articles. I would love to be cited in a socialism report by the White House. Can we get the District Sentinel cited somehow? We need to start.
We can try.
We'll try our best.
Maybe we'll submit a public comment.
Yeah. Moving right along here. Here's a question. What could make both Amazon, one of the most hated private companies out there, and ICE, one of the most hated public agencies out there, what could make them both even worse? Well, how about both of them working together to use Orwellian technology to target vulnerable communities? The Project on Government Oversight, or POGO, obtained an email from an Amazon employee to an official within ICE's Homeland Security Investigations team. It recapped a meeting the two had in June in which Amazon pitched their facial recognition software called Recognition with a K, with a KKK. And it recapped ICE's interest in Recognition, in Amazon's product. Amazon pitches Recognition as a means to support ICE's vital mission. The software would allow law enforcement authorities to scan faces in a crowd in real time and reference them to a criminal or whatever kind of database. The technology, though, it's been criticized for producing false positives and disproportionately flagging faces of color. In a statement to the Daily Beast, ICE confirmed that it doesn't currently have a contract for Recognition, but the agency refused to disclose how many times officials have met with Amazon vendors. Earlier this year, the ACLU revealed that Amazon has already contracted with local law enforcement agencies to use Recognition. That's despite a group of Amazon employees publicly calling on their employer to cancel all Recognition contracts with law enforcement. The company obviously didn't listen and is now trying to market its surveillance toys to ICE, one of the worst law enforcement agencies out there.
But Bernie Sanders criticizing Jeff Bezos is a gift to Trump.
Exactly.
Why would you...
Jeff Bezos, bad. All right. We've got some poetry.
Jeff Bezos. Don't get me started on Jeff Bezos.
You can get started if you want.
I just, again, shouting out Street Fight Radio. Their coverage of Jeff Bezos has been great. That's all I will say.
Yeah, agreed.
They get certain chants going at shows about Jeff Bezos, and they're very funny. They're very funny.
Yes. You know what that music means?
It's haiku time, baby.
It's haiku time. Right. Time to read some poetry for our new subscribers on Patreon, patreon.com/District Sentinel. I'll go first. This one is for Wolf Dog. Stay tuned for Thursday. Why? 2 dogs in studio. A haiku teaser.
Teaser indeed. Thank you, Wolf Dog. This one is for Who the Woo. A bird near water. Does it dive down for some fish? Mind your own business.
Thank you, Who the Woo. This is for Lori. Your Honor, I plead not guilty to the charges. The fat cop framed me.
Thank you, Lori. Finally, this is for Simon John. Stuffy nose in fall. With this curse I walk the earth, sniffly bastard.
I feel you on that. Thank you, Simon John. This is heyday season for the tissue companies, for Kleenex. This is when Kleenex makes the big bucks this time of year, at least off me.
Or when the toilet paper companies make the big bucks, because you can just use toilet paper as tissue.
Yeah, until your nose gets all red and raw. I suppose I'm not using the right toilet paper. All right, thanks to all the new subscribers. Again, patreon.com/District Sentinel.
The Trump administration is proposing to relax more rules on health insurance. Today, the Departments of the Treasury, Labor, and Health and Human Services unveiled a proposal to lessen restrictions on business owners. Finally, score one for the business owners.
No, they never win.
They never win. Those scrappy underdogs, the business owners, they're finally getting one. The draft rule would allow a business to substitute employee health insurance coverage with cash to buy health insurance coverage on Obamacare exchanges, many of which have few choices. So basically taking a benefit, replacing it with cash, which might buy a lesser benefit, probably buy a lesser benefit. The Department of Labor...
pretty much how all privatization programs work.
Yeah. The Department of Labor said the rule was needed because it costs too much for employers to offer health care. Quote, the fact is many employers simply cannot afford to offer traditional employer-sponsored coverage to their employees as a result of the significant costs, including the administrative burdens associated with identifying and managing such health plans. End of quote. You know what? Fully agree with this. Business owners can't be trusted to do anything right, especially small business owners. Another reason we need single payer health care.
You got it.
Yeah. This shows why the ACA is such a conservative proposal at heart, by the way, because it enables employers to just, not that the employer-based program is good, but employers giving you coverage, then they can just be like, you know what, you're going on to the Obamacare exchanges. We don't need to give you coverage anymore. You can just get your bunk insurance program there. So thanks, Obama. Thanks, the Heritage Foundation, for writing the ACA. So that's good. So that leaves us, yes, we have a currently an insane, predatory, for-profit system. And now the asshole employers will have more leeway if they want to fuck us over. According to Treasury Department, the proposed rule would impact about 800,000 businesses. In total, they offer healthcare coverage to 10 million of their employees.
Finally today, the long saga of Wilbur Ross and will he or won't he sit for a deposition, that's now over. The Supreme Court has intervened to protect the Commerce Secretary from sitting for questions under oath related to his department's decision to include a citizenship question on the 2020 census. States, immigrant rights groups, and the ACLU have sued Ross over the addition of the question, saying it amounts to discrimination by discouraging undocumented individuals from responding to the census and thus reducing public benefits that go to those areas. Lower courts had ordered Ross to face a deposition in the matter after it was revealed that he had lied to Congress and the courts about the role of his department in the citizenship question. Ross claimed it was added at the behest of the Justice Department, but internal memos discovered that that's not true. The vote in the Supreme Court was not recorded, but it would have required 5 justices to shield Ross from the deposition. And with the addition of Brett Kavanaugh, the High Court, it does have 5 reliable conservative justices. How much you want to bet that Kavanaugh gave one of Trump's top officials a nice reprieve here? The Supreme Court, though, did not extend a similar reprieve to DOJ Assistant Attorney General John Gore, who was also ordered to face a deposition. He will still sit for one, despite efforts by Justices Neil Gorsuch and Clarence Thomas on the High Court to shield him too. Although Secretary Ross is not sitting for a deposition, litigants are continuing with discovery in the trial, which is set to formally begin on November 5th. And that'll do it for your District Sentinel radio newscast for today. What's going on in the old chat room, Sam Knight.
Well, if you listened to yesterday's show, you might recall how Luke talked about an aircraft carrier
I do remember
being
that.
in the harbor.
Do we have an update?
It's still there. Might have to call in and report about the developments. Got a lot to say.
Call the rant line,
Call
202-684-6108.
Bobby asks if everyone's going to vote, and Alex says, thanks to the smart way Virginia is set up, we have an election every year. They have the state legislature in the off years and the federal in the years that the federal occurs. Noah says, shuck Chumer. Joe says, R.I.P. intern Nate. We got intern Suck now, the cactus.
We do have intern Suck.
Moving to
going
the
strong here.
Socialism discourse, Tarek says, we can't follow the Nordic model because they're small, homogenous countries, but if we do implement any good welfare policies, we'll end up like small South American country Venezuela. Then Alex says also about the Nordic countries, they eat rye bread that has the texture of a shingle. It's bad, folks. Just kidding. Nordic baked goods are tight as hell.
Germany eats that kind of bread. Don't they eat shitty bread?
I guess so.
Yeah. I was in Germany. The bread was shitty. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I think Germany is known for
its bread.
The best bread. Kurt says, looks like Sam K got a fresh cut. Looking good night. Sax looks awful as usual. Shave. Well, yeah, Kurt says you look awful as usual.
All right, that's fine.
And then Alex says
Thanks,
rude,
Kurt.
and Tina says, Kurt.
Thanks for defending me, Mom. All right, that's the show. Call the rant line 202-684-6108. Thanks to our sponsors, the Congressional Dish Podcast, hosted by Jen Briney, and levelnews.org. The newscast is back tomorrow. We're here in D.C. so that you don't have to be.